Hi everyone. My project is about light intensity and how it changes when you go deeper underwater. We will see how to use a math formula to find out how much light is left. So, what is light intensity? Light intensity means how bright the light is. When light enters water, it starts to fade. The deeper you go, the less light there is. This is because the water absorbs the light. Scientists use a special formula to measure this. You'll see that in the next slide. So here's the formula we use. So as you can see, according to this formula, I is how bright the light is and it's measured in lumens. X is how deep the depth is in feet, and 12 lumens is the brightness at the surface or 0 feet deep. So 12 is basically a constant that we have to use because we know that at zero depth or at the surface of the water, the brightness of the light is 12 lumens. So this is a practice question. I took a screenshot of the thing. So how bright is the light at 30 feet? So we use the formula. We plug in the values we know. So we know X. So we plug in X. And then doing the math, we get 10.18. So basically, the light at 30 feet is about 10.18 lumens. There's nothing complicated about this. We just have to plug in the values we get and then solve for the value we need to find. When we say how bright the light is, it means the intensity, so we find the I. If it said, if we were given intensity and we had to find the distance or the depth, then we would just plug in the intensity and solve for X. I think that's the next question as well. Yep. So what if the light is 6 lumens? How deep is the water? So now we plug in 6 at the place of I, as you can see here. And then we do the math and then we solve for X. And X comes out to be 128. So if the light is 6 lumens, we're about 128 feet deep. So mistakes to look out for. Forgetting to divide or multiply correctly, using the wrong log button on your calculator, or forgetting that log means base 10 unless it says otherwise. These are very basic mistakes because there's only so much you can go wrong with when plugging in a normal equation. So yeah, these are the mistakes you should watch for. And forgetting that log means base 10 unless it says otherwise is, yeah, it might happen, but then you just have to make sure that if there is a base given under log, then you have to use that. Otherwise, it's 10 always. So these are the two questions, the short quiz. So basically, almost the same as we practiced, but what is the light intensity at 50 feet? And then if the light is 3 lumens, how deep is the water? Thank you for watching. This point eh, and forward is where A level starts from. So if you want to stick around and watch for the A level, that's fine. But the other part is just for misassignment. So this is the A level part, the real data and regression. I plotted some points on my graphing calculator and then basically saw how light and plugged in the values of light. I Googled the values. So if at 10 feet deep, how bright is the light? And then all of that. And then did the regression using my graphing calculator and Desmos to make sure. And it gave me this formula. And this is exactly the same formula we use, but we use the logarithm form of it. But this is the exact equation we use to solve for the basic math we just did. The domain and range. So what values make sense? The domain is the depth, and we can't go above the water. So zero depth is basically the limit. And that is where the intensity of the water is 12. And below that, so 1 feet, 2 feet, 3 feet, that's our domain. We can go to whatever value. Since we really realistically don't know how deep the ocean is properly. So yeah. And the range is how bright the light is. So it starts at 12 at the surface and it goes down but never hits zero because energy is never lost and light is a form of energy. So light would never be lost. So basically, zero is our horizontal asymptote for this, since light could never reach the point zero. And that's it. Thank you, Mrs. Hinman, and the other students who were interested in knowing the A level part who watched this video.